Fortunately, because it's got a USB controller on it, and which is great for extra storage and serial ports and webcams and the like. Jonathan and I are trying out a different router. We've ordered one from ASUS that has USB on it, 64 bucks, so pretty inexpensive. Going to do the same thing, hack into it and put Linux on it, and then we can run our robotics programs on it. Drill a hole inside and bring out a serial port so it can be wired up to things like an Arduino. So that's kind of a direction in transition on routers that we're going through at the moment. The router is intended to talk to the Arduino and give it higher level control information which it might be getting across the wireless network. Sitting on top of the router is a pretty neat little thing. I've got a couple of them here as show and tells. This is a switching regulator. It's a 5-volt out, anywhere between 7 and about 35 or so volts in. You can get high voltage versions of them. They're good for about 1.5 amps out, and when I'm pulling half an amp out of it, putting 24 volts in, it just barely gets warm. So much lower heat dissipation. You don't have like things that are burning up because of like you would if it was a linear regulator.
Who makes that? Is it Dimension or not?
There's a number of vendors that make it. I think it started out as a TI part. It's called the 78ST105. If you search for that, someone in the club told me about them.
And their Powertrains was a company who made them in TI bottom. So, but you can still get them in TI though.
Yeah, they're a great part. They're thermally protected, overcurrent protected. They're they're a 3-pin device, so they're as easy to use as a 7805. Just put a capacitor on the output, and that's about all you have to do to make them.
So it's literally, is it a module? Does it have?
It's a module. If you have a look later, but it's got the inductor and the chip all inside the module. They run about 20 bucks, so they're not cheap, but for something that doesn't get hot and gives you 5 volts from almost any voltage in, that's really what you want for a robot, because robots almost always have like 12 volts or 24 volts or something like that. Yeah. So that's what's taking robot power in and driving 5 volts out to the router and the Arduino. It's got an Arduino here and an RC receiver here. The idea of the RC receiver is to allow for manual or autonomous control. So you use one one of the flaps settings or something on an RC controller to say, I want to be autonomous, manual, or I want to be autonomous, or various. Obviously you can make it do what you want there. And the RC controller outputs, which would normally drive a servo, so they're pulse width modulated outputs, wired to the Arduino. The Arduino has a pulse in function that you can use to measure pulse width. So you get the pulse width in microseconds, and you can make it do just whatever you want. The Arduino wires to there's normally 3 motor control boards here. These are Jose's 30 amp motor control boards. He has some of them with him assembled if you want to buy them. He also has bare boards, and he also has some little bitty 2 amp single motor controllers that are real nifty. Anyway, I've really liked these motor controllers. They got that they're kind of unique. Each chip is a half H bridge and is actually a multi-chip module inside the package with a with a P-channel FET and an N-channel FET, so you get low on resistance and a lot of good things out of that. So that's the transportable or transferable robot control module with radio control input and override, Wi-Fi input, and the Wi-Fi is obviously with USB for webcams to send webcams up to video data up to a PC for decent vision processing, and motor control out of the Arduino which one would drive from higher level software to tell it to go forwards, backwards at whatever speed. Any questions, comments on this?
What distro of Linux are you putting on the router?
It's
Monta Vista? Or no, it's probably some embedded Linux.
no. There are a couple of router Linux versions, and I'm spacing their names. I'll remember it, and catch me later, and I'll remember it.
DPRG?
DDWRT is one that we've tried. This one particular has Gargoyle on it. That's like some other router distro that has seemed to work better than its Wi-Fi capability was better than DDWRT.
And what sort of like driver support does that have? I mean,
so it's got webcam. It's got drivers for webcams, and it's really I don't know much beyond that. I'm hoping it has RS-232, USB RS-232.
It probably has all the standard HID stuff, so keyboard, mice, RS-232, probably the parallel port, standard parallel port, USB parallel port, and mass storage. And then usually you get a couple webcams, and then it usually drops off real fast after that. It's like everything else, no.
It's probably got some simplistic wireless support too to interface with a wireless controller.
It has full networking, full networking for the Wi-Fi, so you can bridge the Wi-Fi through into the wired Ethernet. I mean, its networking capability is everything that you get in a router.
Okay. Okay. Good. Cool.
Yeah.
Just one question. On your capture of the RC receiver pulse width, so how do you handle the Arduino? Just has one pin, the input capture pin, that'll measure those with great precision. So how are you multiplexing the outputs of your receiver?
No.
How do you do it?
There's a software function that will work on any digital input.
Oh, okay.
And it just waits for a positive going pulse, and then starts a microsecond timer and waits till it goes negative, and then gives you the answer.
Okay. I thought it was all happening.
No, it's not in hardware. It just uses software.
Because one pin will do that.
Timing.
One pin can do it without any thought. It'll run the timer and stop. But okay.
This is
only measure one channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
The other thing that I want to show is this. This is an Arduino Mega. So just fresh in from SparkFun, got something like 60 digital IOs, of which about 16 can be analog inputs, and 4 serial ports, and about 16 PWM ports. So again, it's just driving one of Jose's motor controllers. Did I mention I love Jose's motor controllers? And,
Thank you.
And it's intended for going on here because I'm almost out of IOs on the robot controller. By the time you get serial ports and something to run all the motor pulse width modulation and direction controls and all that, you don't have enough IOs left for inputs for sonar and compass and all this jazz. So need more IO. Great way to do IO. And you can. This is a shield, a proto shield that sits on top of the can sit on top of the Arduino Mega, and you can build whatever you want on there. So that's about it. Any questions?
No. Thanks, Paul.